Well, hello, Jason. How are you today?
Hello.
Well, you got some new. I got new glasses, and you got new glasses. Well, actually, I
I got new glasses. Yeah,
old new.
they're pineapples. I don't know if you noticed
You know,
it.
you look like Elton John. That's great. That's
Yeah.
great.
My daughter got them for me. They make
How
everything
sweet.
yellow. So,
I can't imagine why.
it's summertime, man. I gotta roll with the summertime vibes.
Yeah, well, I get it. Before we get started, though, I'm Zach. This is Jason. We are co-hosts of The Hustle Machine, and we are co-owners of Market House. Between the two of us, we have 20 plus years of experience in the marketing world and website development.
Yep.
And we have seen how hustle culture is has damaged our work relationships, like with just our mental game with how work should be done, but it's also damaging the Western culture that as we see it today. So our whole premise of the show is to debunk some of the myths of Hustle Machine and basically redefine what hustle culture really should look like. And you can grow your business. You can have that side hustle grow without having to give up all the things.
Right.
So that's us. Jason,
That's
really
us.
quick.
Yes.
Tell me you're old without telling me you're old. Can I go first?
Yes.
You have one.
I got one. Yeah.
So this morning I was washing my hands and threw up my back. Washing my hands.
I just choked on LaCroix and it just shot at my nose.
I threw my back out washing my hands. That's it.
How does that happen?
I don't know. So the house we live in is kind of older, and my wife, she comments on it too, and she's shorter than I am, obviously, and so she comments all the time. She's like, "Man, these sinks seem really low." I'm like, "Yeah, try being my height and trying to I'm not super tall, but I'm 6'2", so I'm not like super short or anything like that, but." I was just leaning down and I wasn't like vigorously washing my hands. But then when I went to sit up, I was like, okay. And then my wife was walking by the bathroom while I was doing that. And she was like, are you okay? I'm like, I think it's still my back. So you have one, right? So I don't maybe not feel so bad. That's basically what I'm trying to get.
We have some
this is for me.
Yeah, we have some wild raspberry bushes that are, I guess, from the pasture behind our house that's starting to grow on the hill behind in our backyard. And my wife said, can you pull a couple of these, please? They're starting to get into the yard. I don't want the kids to run on them because they're very sharp and prickly. I said, sure. So I don't know. I spent like 20 minutes pulling some raspberry bush weeds. And then it felt like I had rheumatoid arthritis by the time I got done. I was like, oh my God. My hands were like, they were so sore last night. So yes, that's I'm getting old, I guess.
We're getting there. Lauren Mendoza, she commented, she said nice shades. So you have a fan.
Right. I mean, I'll just keep them on. You got your new Warby Parkers. I got my new pineapples.
Yeah, so I did the home try-ons. We do have things we're going to go over, so just stick with us. But this is kind of like catching up for us as well. Like we save a lot of our stuff all the time. But so I did the try-on pairs at home, and you do 5 or whatever, and none of them was like I really like these. These have spoiled me because they're so light, like a light frame. Yeah. That these are the exact same ones as my old ones because they spoiled me. Because if I go with a darker frame, I feel like all my vision is cut off now. Because with these, for some reason, I can see past things. It feels like I don't feel like I'm wearing glasses when I have these on. Like they don't.
Yeah, with these, I feel like I'm wearing glasses. Like I feel like I have a pineapple on my face. It's very like present. Everything's a little blurry because I don't think that they're my prescription.
No, they're probably not.
I'm very aware of the boundaries of my vision right now.
Are those the new those are the new version of Warby Parkers that are coming out?
Yeah, the pineapple edition.
Yeah,
I don't recommend them
for summer.
But yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I used to have like the skinny frames with the big plastic edge, and I was always very aware of the borders of my vision. Especially because they're with a bigger frame and maybe one with a smaller edge. Yeah, you're like, whoa, I can see everything now.
You know what's funny
welcome to the Eyeglass Show with Jason and Zach.
Well, I was going to add one more thing. My wife laughs at me because every time I get new glasses, I always put them on and I go, wow, I can see colors so much cleaner. Everything just seems so much crisper. And she's like, that's not a thing. And I was like, it's a thing. It is a thing. When you get a new pair of glasses and you put them on, you go, whoa.
I think it's also because they're super clean now too. They're super clean. There's no no scratches, no. So just my sister-in-law, the first time she got glasses, because when she was a kid, she's like, I think I need glasses, but they didn't go like right away, and they didn't think it was as bad as it was. They went to the vision center, and it was like at the mall or the store or whatever, and she put them on, and when she looked out into the rest of the store, she's like, I didn't know any of that was up there. Like she was like talking about like signs hanging from like the ceiling and stuff. She's like, I can see. She also has really awful vision, come to find out. But like, yeah, she put her glasses on for the first time, and she's like, there's so many things to see now. And I was like, oh my gosh, what an awful experience prior to that. Just thinking that there was less things and everything was more blurry. But
it's true.
Anyway,
it's true.
What are we talking about today?
Talking about work is for working and lunch is for luncheon, and we're not talking about LUNCHEON like a luncheon. I always think of The Office when they're gonna have a lunch party. Was it a lunch party? And it was
a lunch party, Kevin.
Dude, what if we changed that U to an A or something like that? And he's like,
yeah,
lunch party. Like Angela goes, lunch party, Kevin. Would it really be better if it said lunch party? And he's like, I don't know. But yeah,
that's when they were trying to deal with Angela and trying to deal with difficult people. Yeah. But no, so we gave a presentation at a company. I think at this point it's probably been about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, because we recorded this episode that came out today, or no, came out last week, last Wednesday, the Lunches for Luncheon episode. We recorded this pretty soon after we had that meeting, because when we were leaving the meeting, we were getting in the car, headed to lunch, and there were two guys from this office that we were just leaving. They were getting in the car beside us, completely unrelated to why we were there. They were like IT guys or something like that. And the main guy was.
I think one of the guys was out of town. I think one of the guys was out of. I think the one guy was. One of the guys was from out of town. Like he was.
Yeah, I don't know. But I was waiting for them to finish what they were doing so I could open the car door, because we were parked right beside each other. And so I was just standing there, and like any normal person, I was listening to every single word of their conversation. Because that's what you do.
All normal people do. Oh yeah, 100%.
And so I'm just sitting there listening, and the guys are chatting back and forth. And long story short, they were trying to figure out what they were going to do at lunch. And the main guy getting in the car was like, he just wanted to go eat. The other guy was like, should I bring my laptop? I could bring my laptop. We go over this while we eat, and we could make this like a working lunch essentially. And the main guy was like, he goes, work is for working. Lunch is for luncheon. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. And I looked at the guy and I was like, amen, brother. We're in the South. That's kind of like a phrase that you use if you're not from around here. I mean, that's a pretty common phrase when you wholeheartedly agree with somebody. And he was like, and he like nodded his head and smiled and got in his car and left. So like he felt very validated in that. But like to me, that perfectly encapsulates a huge monumental issue that is happening in the workforce, that's been happening for ever, essentially, because people don't take the time they need to properly stop and take a break from work. Too much effort is given to continue working, continue doing what that main job is. That's not to say, as an entrepreneur and a side hustler, you can't keep working and doing other stuff, but I'm saying you should stop work number one if you're going to do something else, because far too many people feel like, okay, this is my job, I should still be around. Like, what if I get a phone call? I can't tell me how many times over the years I've stayed close to my desk because I was, oh, well, I'm probably going to get a phone call, and I deal with people on the West Coast, and so they might be calling at the beginning of their day, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, I'm working on this, and I'm probably going to get an email from my boss soon, so I should stay near. It's like this underlying unspoken need to continue to work for that main job, when there's a whole world of opportunities you have in that hour, right? You could do literally anything because it's your time. I don't think people give that enough credence. Like, they don't give the fact that it's your time to do whatever you want with. And it probably shouldn't be continuing to work for job number one.
Yeah. And I think you make an excellent point, is oftentimes people who are in a side hustle don't see that side hustle as a burden. So they see it as something exciting. That's a new thing they're working on, and they're like excited about it. Because if they hated it, they wouldn't keep doing it, because it's a side hustle. They just quit, just stop doing it. So oftentimes people will use that lunch break as an opportunity to do a couple things. Like for me, I've used my lunch break for several different purposes over the years. When we had our first child, I used it for napping. We talked about it on the show. I would
car naps, glorious
eat really
car
fast
naps at lunch. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd eat really fast, and then I would go take a nap in the car. Set a timer, set multiple timers, alarms, make sure that I was awake in that time. At least give me 5 or 10 minutes to wake up and then get back to work. But get like 30 minutes in, something like that was always nice. And then there was a time where I was also working out during that time. So I had 2 different jobs.
Is this the part in the show where you talk about getting naked in the corner of the parking deck?
Yeah, I'll get to that. I was never arrested, so that's a good thing. So that's the preface there. I was never arrested. So yeah, one of the companies I worked for, they didn't have a gym in the company, but right next door, like literally right next door to this, was a gym.
Right.
And I would take my lunch break and walk over there and eat lunch, or I would work out and shower and everything. On the other side of that office was a really nice restaurant. I mean, I wouldn't say nice restaurant. It was the food was great. So I would oftentimes go and place my order there and say, I'm gonna be ready in about 45 minutes, an hour. I'll come by and grab it. And so I would go in, work out for 30 minutes, shower, run over, grab my lunch, go back to my desk, and have my food sitting over here and get back to work. And then another company I worked for didn't have a gym. There was not a gym close to it. So I was running a lot at that time. So I would go and run, because there was a nice greenway, like right next to, like, you would walk out the door and half a mile down the road was a greenway.
Right.
And I would go and run 2-3 miles. And this is where Jason brings up that point, is I would get back in the car, turn the air on as full blast as I could. And there was a parking garage, and I would go drive up to, there was like 5 or 6 floors, but like on the 4th or 5th floor, there was never anybody on that floor, like ever, like never, ever anybody there. And so I would go up there, and I think you're muted, Jason. And then I would change in the car with the air full blast, and go and get back to work. I would cool off and then go back to work. But the point you're making is I had to use a lot of that time, and we had hustle market house at the time. We did have work that we needed to do, but I needed that time to disconnect because I was working in the evenings on market house.
Yeah.
So I needed some time where I wasn't working on anything.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was taking the time to step away from a computer screen, an iPad screen, my phone, and completely detach for a little bit.
Right.
And I think I make a comment on the show is like, we're so ingrained nowadays. Most people have desk jobs, and we're so ingrained that we sit so close to a screen and we're just staring at that. And then when we're done, we pick up our phone, walk down the hallway to the bathroom with the phone in our hands. And then we go to the bathroom, we sit down, and we have that. I'm using the bathroom, but we go to lunch and we sit at the lunch table and we sit there and look at a screen again.
Yeah.
And our eyes don't ever get a break. So funny.
Right.
We were talking about glasses earlier. So it's good oftentimes to shift your eyes to looking further than here.
Mm-hmm.
And not just that, but it gives you, I don't know about you, working out, when I go for runs or a workout, it gives me clarity. It helps me clear my brain, gives me space to think about other things. I go for walks in the morning. I go for walks after lunch most of the time. And it helps me to refocus for the afternoon, or helps me get geared up for that morning, that the workday, starting the day off with a walk. And there's something about that mental shift, or that your brain is clear when you're active. And so it's important to do that.
I think, I don't know. For me, I think it's more important to, or I think it's most important that you're just disconnecting from your work, from your email, because I think I have a tendency to try and just keep going with that kind of stuff. When it comes to, when it comes to taking a break, I've always been a fan of like stopping. I would always sit at my desk. We talked about this on the show. I would always sit at my desk and I would like watch a show while I ate. But I did, because I don't like the break room environment. It's too noisy. It's too loud. Too many people wanting to like chit chat. I want to disconnect completely, but I don't want to like go in a public environment. So I can stay at my desk and that's fine. But like also when you're sitting at your desk, people will stop by. People will call you. Emails will pop up. And so it's like, I tried to disconnect, but I never fully could. And, you said that you would take that time a lot to work out. One thing we didn't mention on the show is that we used our lunch breaks quite a bit to grow the business. We would schedule meetings then. And so like, I'd like pop into like a meeting room, or I'd go in my office. And I'd go and sit in my car.
I was about to say, we do it from the car a lot.
Yeah, we do like a meeting from the car. 'Cause, it's nice and quiet. Get like a corner of the parking lot in the shade. Do a meeting from your car. I would do cold calls a lot.
Yep.
And I would normally I would get in my car. I'd drive somewhere to lunch. I'd be parking in the parking lot, like under a tree or somewhere where it's, shaded a little bit. And I would sit there and I would eat my lunch and I would go through cold calls. I'd see like, what do I need to do? We even recorded our podcast, like talking about lunch break. Our old podcast back in the day was called Lunch Break Marketing. And that's what it was, it was a show that was born from conversations that you and I would have. You would leave your job down the road. We worked probably about 15 minutes apart, 20 minutes apart, but we kind of,
we'd meet in the middle.
And you worked down the road. I worked down this way. We would meet in the middle at this, most of the time at this Thai place. And we'd sit over in the corner. They had a spot just for us. And we'd sit and we'd chit chat. And then that grew into our podcast, which we would record those conversations while we ate, and, grew into more of like a format and stuff like that. And then we had like interviews and stuff like that. But the whole premise was we were building our business. We were having marketing discussions. We were growing over our lunch break. We were using that time for ourselves. because
growing
that's
in
our
two
time.
ways.
Yeah, because I think that the whole one of the biggest issues when it comes to hustle culture and this toxic way of thinking is that people feel guilty for taking time for themselves during the day. It's like even though you're only being paid to work those hours where you're actually working and you're not being paid for your lunch break, a lot of people feel like extreme guilt for not doing more during the day and like not working, during lunch. Like I've had not direct supervisors, but other managers and people above me in companies, like give me grief for sitting at my desk watching something on YouTube or something like that during my lunch break. I was like, this is my time. I was like, I'm here early. I stay until after 5. I was like, this is my time. And they're like, that's what, and then like they would pop back with something. I think they said something about, well, your salary. So all of your time is our time. That was essentially what they said. Like, okay, so you own me 24/7. I don't think so.
All the time.
It was unhealthy.
Yeah.
And that really upset me. It was very disrespectful. I was like, I work here. I don't live here. You don't own me. Like, this is my job. Just like this is your job. Your job, you might have your complete persona wrapped up in what you do. I was like, but this is just a piece of me. My job is just a part of one of the things that I do. I was like, I do a lot of other things. And when I'm here, I give you everything. I'm in all the meetings. I'm producing for this company. I'm running a team. We're putting a ton of content out. I was like, we are killing it. I was like, don't come at me with this whole like making me feel bad for wanting to take a break. That was essentially what it was. So it's toxic, dude. It's toxic and it drives me crazy. It makes me sick.
Yeah. And I remember having conversations with other employees who would use that opportunity to go and run errands and get things done that they couldn't typically do.
I still do that. I do that. I'm doing that today. On my lunch break today, I've got to run to Office Depot or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think it's important for if you have a side hustle, if you are an aspiring entrepreneur looking for ways to grow your business, your lunch is a great time for that.
Right.
But be careful because again, you don't want to burn yourself out by just constantly working. And that was what my fear was with me taking my lunch break as an opportunity to invest in myself, where I invest in my health, invest in my mental health, invest in my physical health. I mean, really emotional as well, because there's something to say about how working out can affect you in all kinds of ways. And so that's why I use that time for that, because I didn't have time otherwise to do it.
Yeah.
So I looked at my time and my schedule and said, this is the right time. And I think that hustle culture would speak against this. It would be like, you need to keep going. And there's like this, we've talked about on the show before, like this badge of honor of people saying, well, I worked 18 hours today. I can sleep when I'm dead. And it's like, okay, well, congratulations to you. You don't win a prize for that. Yeah. You may win some monetary money for it because you may get raises. Okay, fine. But what's the sacrifice to that? Your mental health is in the crapper. Your physical health is declining. Your relationships are declining just to reach up to that. And to point out this, and I think I mentioned this on the show, people who pride themselves on work 18, 20 hours a day, let's be real. No one can function that way. No one. Like
you could do it occasionally, but you can't sustain it.
No, you can't do it every day. And that's
I didn't say you can do it every day. Yeah, you can't sustain it. But
right,
I would definitely have done those. Not because like I wanted to, but because I like overextended myself. Like I overpromised with stuff while I was freelancing. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And then I'm like, oh shoot, I got a 12-hour shift today at the restaurant. I was like,
do you remember, this is years ago. Do you remember one of the clients we had, we built them a new website. It was the night before launch. We were going to do some testing after the family went to bed. And you text me at like, I guess it was like 10 o'clock at night. And you're like, it's gone. I was like, what do you mean? The whole site's gone. I was like, what do you start over? What do you mean it's gone? Like, he's like, the whole website, everything we built, everything, literally everything is gone. I was like, you gotta be kidding. So much for testing. We're gonna have to rebuild it. And I think we didn't go to bed till like, I think we were done like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
I think I got like 2 hours of sleep that night, and up again and going back to my regular job. Eyes were bloodshot and dry.
Yeah. And I totally forgot about that. That was a long time ago. That was like a WordPress, like it crashed or something like that, and we had to start over from scratch. It was awful.
Yeah, we had to remember what everything was, and like we had all the content. We had to go back through all the emails, make sure we got all of the edits and the content changes were right and the images were right. It was awful, and then we still had to test it on top of all that.
Yeah.
And I remember my wife getting up in the middle of the night. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I explained it all. She goes, "Well, why don't you just go to bed and work on it tomorrow?" I was like, I can't. It's the launch tomorrow. Like, it has to be gone. It has to be done like now. So to your point, yes, there are times where we've had to do that, and there are times where you have to do that, and that's just part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the people, what I'm talking about is the people who wear it as a badge of honor, and they choose to. I'm up at 4:30, and I'm doing my workout now, and then I'm at my computer at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm working until 10:30 that night, and I go to bed, and I get back up again at 4:30, and I do it all over again. It's like, okay, well, great. That's great.
Yeah.
Like,
how do you have a personal life? Like that's the thing. Like there's no balance. Your life is completely imbalanced. Like you might be working out, but you're still unhealthy. Like that's not good for your body, and it's also not good for your soul. It's like, there's this whole like unknowable component about overexertion and pushing your body too far. Like, yeah, I stay up later than I should. It's not good for me, but like sometimes I just got to get stuff done. And that's why it's so important that you take that break in the middle of the day, that you take it to do whatever you want. Like, now, if you want to grow your business during that time, awesome, do it. Call like crazy. I had a couple of months back in the day where I would take my lunch break every single day and cold call after this same company until I got somebody on the phone. And then I was like, yes, I did it. I didn't end up closing it, but I got them on the phone. And that was just like my little goal. And then I just went back to, sitting in my car, eating a sandwich, watching an episode of something on Netflix. But like, that was my time, because then that's relaxing to me. I had an assistant, one of the best hires I ever made. One of the assistants, she was a copywriter. So she worked on my team, and she was very regimented. So she would get to work every day, like 5 minutes early. She would clock in on the dot at 8 o'clock. And then she would put in her work day. Boom, at 12 o'clock, she's clocking that time clock. 1 o'clock, boom, she's back in the door, clocking that time clock again. 5 o'clock, boom, she's clicking it out. Like, I literally had to do no thought when I resolved her time card at the end of the week, because she was very, very regimented. But within that regimen that she had, she worked on herself, right? So she would get up. She had that little beepy thing on her watch, and she would get up and she would do a lap around the office and come sit back down during the day, like once an hour or whatever. And then at lunchtime, she would eat, and then she would read. And then while she read, she would walk. Like, she would go for a walk while she read. Very healthy, balanced person, very happy person. She did exactly what she wanted to do. She gave 100% of herself when she was at work, and then she poured herself completely into taking a break. And so she was balanced. And I think that there's so many people in the workforce that are completely imbalanced. They're leaning to one. You're listing to port because you're giving too much of yourself to a job that's often so thankless. Like, are the people in your company asking you to work over your lunch break? No. Like, they're taking their lunch break, right? They're not, they're often going and doing their own thing. Like, nobody's asking you to do these things. Like, but it's weird because here in the US, and I can't speak for other countries, but here in the US, it's like this vibe that like we feel like we have to give 100% of ourselves to the company no matter what. And like, we feel this just immense guilt for taking a break, for stopping and walking around, for going outside and staring at some trees and breathing deep from the oxygen that's outside to oxygenate our brain and just give us some good vibes for a minute. And like, it's like, no, go back to your desk. I know my dad told me this story. He changed careers late in life. The company he worked at for 20 something years ended up closing. And so he worked for another company that was an international company. And so the culture was very different than what he was used to. And so like their work structure was very different. Their break structure was very different. Like, that very different expectations that he just wasn't used to. And he was used to being able to take a lunch break when he was ready at lunchtime as a salesperson. And they were like, no, the office closes at this time. Everybody's got to be back at this time. And you need to stand at your, no headphones, if you need to like listen to something. It was very, very strict and routine because they were trying to control all aspects of it. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't you ease up a bit? And like, let your people breathe, because it's not healthy. It's not healthy living a life imbalanced.
Yeah. And what I was getting at was like that with the hustle culture. I think that people who wear that badge of honor, your brain can't function that way. You physically can't do it and sustain it that long to the point where you're going to have a burnout. You're going to break down. And that's the thing, is they're parading that around on social media and then posting about it constantly and bragging to others. But what you probably don't see is they're farting around on their phones, and they're because you literally can't do it. Your brain won't work that way. And so it's just surprising to me how many people fall
pounding 5-hour energies to stay awake.
Yeah,
I saw that on a show recently. This guy was being interviewed, and he was like, it was like a morning interview. Like, he hadn't been up but a couple hours, and he's like, hold on. And he's like, and then by the end of the show, he had already like downed another. I'm like, that can't be healthy. I don't drink energy drinks. They make my heart go wonky. So I don't know, but like, that can't be good. That can't be good to just constantly down those things.
I've only done that one time, and I was working at that. Remember, I think I've talked about this on the show. I was working in this cabinet shop, and I was 18 years old, and my work ethic was awful. But we had to be there at 7 a.m, and that's early for when I 18 years old. Like, when you're used to going to school and you don't have to be there till 8:30, and you weren't getting up to like 7:30 in the morning. So it's like making that shift to like, okay, now I have to be up at like 6. And we'd be there at 7, get off at 4. And on Fridays it was like 7 to noon. I was on the struggle bus, dude. And I remember one lunch break. I would be working, sanding doors like this, like just sanding doors. And I would fall asleep standing up while I'm doing this. I'm like, I would go to the bathroom. I would take a bathroom break, and I would go and sleep in the bathroom for like 5 minutes. Like, I just need 5 minutes, dude. It was awful. And I remember on one lunch break, I was like, I can't do this. I gotta have some energy. Like, what is happening with my body? And I got one of those like 5-hour energy things or whatever, and I drank it. I went back to work and I was like feeling, I said, whoa, I'm alert. Woo. And then it wasn't long after that, dude. Like I could feel like my heart was like, boom, 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 boom. I was like, oh, I don't like this. Make it go away. I'm like drinking tons of water to like help flush it out or whatever. And I was like, I swore them off. I was like, I'm not doing it ever again. That was awful. Like I felt great for a second. Yeah. And then it's like, you just like, pew, and you nosedive. And then it's like, it was absolutely the worst experience ever. Like it was so bad.
When I was in college, when I was working at the restaurant, that was those shifts were essentially like a 3 to 3. And so we go in at 3 a.m, we get off 3 p.m, and but one of the guys was like, hey, we should go up to the mountains and go like swimming. There's like some rock that you can like swim down. I don't remember where it was. It was like where I don't know what it was. Anyway, and so he's like, yeah, we should go up. And I was like, where is that? And it's like, he's like an hour and a half away. And I'm like, so after working a 12-hour shift, you want to go drive an hour and a half to the mountains and go swim, and then we have to come back? And I was like, that sounds like an amazing idea. And we did that, but then like I was fading, dude, before we even got to the place to go swim. And I was like, let's stop. I was like at the gas station, and I got an energy drink, and I don't think I had ever had one before. It was like I got a Monster. I got one of those like tall ones, and I was like started drinking it, and I was like, oh man, I was like, yeah, okay. And then like what is the scene? Remember the scene from Super Troopers? Like at the very beginning where they pull the guy over and he's like, I'm freaking out, man. That's how I felt. Cause I remember I'm vividly sitting in the back seat, like leaned up against the window, like, like what is happening with my chest? Like it was bizarre. So, it was very intense moment, but I don't even know how we got sidetracked. Oh yeah, we talking about taking those during your lunch break. But
I think just to circle back on everything, lunch is your time. Do what you want with it. And if you're working in an environment where it's no, you can't do that. You need to be sitting at your desk and you need to be doing all, and it's and they give you such crap about you taking time or utilizing time.
You need to go Goonies on them. Go Goonies on your boss. Be like, down here, it's our time. It's our time down here. Like, you need to be like, this is my time. Leave me alone.
Well,
it's my lunchtime time.
Yeah. Take back what's yours. It's yours.
Yeah.
And
own it and don't feel guilty.
If you're in an environment where they're continuing to pressure that and they give you such a hard time, I would run. I would flee. That's not.
It's a really unhealthy work culture.
And that would be a definition of hustle culture, because they're wanting you to continue to push yourself.
Yeah.
And it leads to so many problems. And we're going to talk, and we're almost done with season 1 of Hustle Machine. We have some really, really exciting stuff coming for season 2 that we've already started planning. And some of that we'll get into some of the health issues that come with hustle culture, and what are a lot of the unspokens that are happening to people, and that are dealing with some serious issues because they have embraced this hustle culture. We'll tell some of our stories. And we're going to have somebody on the show that we'll talk a little bit more about that. But there's so many issues that we don't look at when it comes to hustle culture in regards to taking your time. Like, use your time. Use it how you want to. Go work out. Go for a walk. Go read a book. Go take a nap. Go work on your side hustle that you're super pumped and excited about. It may, you may be working at that point, but it's something that you're passionate about and you're ready to, like, that's what you want to do. And I'm not saying that you can't be passionate about your day job, by no means. But there is something to say about stepping away from it for a little while.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Agreed. Okay. So, that's all we got to say about that. Go check out, Hustle Machine, wherever fine podcasts are consumed. This week's episode is called Staying a Chapter Ahead. So that episode just dropped this morning. So go check that out. And go listen to the original episode for this one, Lunches for Lunchin, where we talk about more than what we talked about today. Today was like a deeper dive into some of those topics. And stay connected with us. Head over to Facebook, check us out there. Check us out on the WINJECT community, winject.com. You can go and join for free and engage with our groups that we have going on over there. And I guess until next time, peace. See you.
Sayonara.